Yeah.
I think it's great, and I hate it all at the same time. Because it's great because it puts power back in your hands, but then it's also bad because people try to self-diagnose things like, well, I got a compound fracture. Anybody get some duct tape? Like, you don't want to deal with it. Please, Riley. You have a question. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Say that again.
You divide.
Don't count your number. Count all those below you. And the only reason I bring this up, see, Riley asked a very good question, and there is no one correct answer to this question.
I only counted the people above me because I'm one of the higher ones, and so there's only 2 people above me.
Put yourself in that count. So there's 3 people, and then that was 20 below you, right?
Okay.
Riley asked a very good question, and especially with small data sets, it can make a huge difference with a small data set. By the definition that we'll use together, we're only going to count those strictly below. So that's why you have to put yourself in the ones above. Is that fair?
What about when there's 3 within the same?
You're all
data set?
you're not bigger or smaller than anybody else. We have 3, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
We have 3
I was
11s.
looking at the 16, so I
Sure.
divided.
Yeah, if there's 3 16s and you're a 16, just count 15 and below.
Oh.
For those that you're bigger than.
So we don't divide 1 by 3 and then.
That's what some statisticians
That's
do.
what I was thinking.
Some
I thought you said
statisticians
that, so I was
either
like,
1
okay.
divided by 3. Sometimes they'll do 1 and a half.
So what it comes out to for me at least.
Well, let's just do yours first. Let's
Alright.
do yours first, Scott. So Scott had 16 states. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So 60 and a couple. At least one other person did too. So 3 of you have been to 16 states. So all of you are going to have the same percentile rank, right? All of you. So now what we got to do is we got to count up how many are below 16. So let's see.
12.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I get 13. Is that right? Did I just count that right?
No, I was wrong.
Well, that's okay. Well, it's okay. I like putting data with the, so 13 are below. So that means you've exceeded 13 people in the room. What percent of the room have you exceeded? Just do 13 divided by 23. What does it end up being? 56%! Boom! You guys are the 56th percentile. 56th percentile. That's all it means. Just the number that you're bigger than divided by 23. Why am I getting 23 again? Remind me.
The total number.
23 data points. If you're bigger than 13 of them, 13 divided by 23 gives you your percentage. Sylviana, how many states you been to? Where were you?
10.
You were to 10. Let's do it. 10.
Yeah.
Who's below 10? Oh, it's gonna be nice. Single digits.
Yeah, 3.
Very nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
5.
What's 5 divided by 23?
Okay.
22.
That's gonna be right. 22nd.
22%.
22%. So you're the 22nd percentile.
Right.
Why? Because you have been to more states than 22% of the room. Alicia?
So mine was 14.
Let's do yours.
But I also have 13 under me.
Did I count wrong? Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
12.
12. Wait, what 12? Oh, the 13
Yeah,
and 12. So you see the difference now. 12 divided by 23 versus 13 divided by 23 is probably off by 4%. That's because the sample is so small. A one count error is going to make 4%, 5% of difference. Does that make sense? It vanishes when you start putting thousands and thousands and thousands of data points together. Those differences are meaningless. Somebody that's been to 14 states versus 15 states, it's much, much closer. But this is why, Ian, what was your percentile rank?
Around that 96%.
Because roughly, if you think about this, each one of these data points, I'm going to ballpark this, is about 4% of the overall data set. It's ish. Now, how do I know that? How do I know that?
23 is a quarter of 100.
Thank you. Dylan, thank you. 23 is about a quarter of 100. This is a bastard question. It's the kind of stuff you learn in like 5th grade and they never ask you again, which they should because it's the math that you actually use in your life. But yeah, 23 is about a quarter of 100. So think about it that way. If you have 25 divided into 100, that's 4. So that means 23 divided into 100 is about 4. So each one of you is about 4% of the overall total of the data set. Each one of your votes, each one of your ranks. Is that fair? Believable? Hopefully, maybe. Ish. Let's do one more person's. Who are we doing? Who are we doing? Trinity, how many states? 18. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Is that what you got? 16 below, that's good. So 16 divided by 23 ends up being, it was like 67, 68%, somewhere in there? Ballpark. 69%!
About 70.
70%! It's getting better every second. Trinity, you are in the 70th percentile.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? I was just going to ask that, actually. I'm glad you kind of segued right for me. That's why it was doubly loud.
People have been to less states.
Beautifully said, Haley and Alicia. 70% of people in this class have been to fewer states than you.
Okay.
That's what it's a dividing line between those who have been fewer states and those who have been more states. Technically speaking. Please.
So mine was 5.
Good. So, technically speaking, by the definition, you're the 0th percentile. And that's one of the reasons statisticians sometimes use slightly different formulas. They say, nobody can be the 0th percentile. I'm like, well, they can by the definition. But what they'll do sometimes is they'll say, okay, Eli, we're going to count you plus those below. So that's why I went back to Riley's question about, do I count me or do I not count me? Let's just agree in this class to not count us, because that's the one that's most used in the world. Is that fair? So yeah, technically speaking, you're the 0th percentile mathematically. But then again, if I throw you into a larger data set, you won't stay at 0 very long. Cool?
Yeah.
I love doing this experiment on the West Coast versus the East Coast, because the numbers are so much higher out there. Obviously, if you look at the map, you can see why, right? I mean, Riley, discussing you flew into JFK and drove to DC. She went 6 states in that process.
Yeah.
Of maybe, it was what, 2.5-hour drive, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, right down on 95, and you pick up 6 states in 2.5 hours. I drove to Florida with my wife once. I picked up like 12 states right there. North Carolina, South Carolina, there's Florida. Oh, here's Florida. We're still in Florida. Florida has got some size, but it's not like Oregon where you change time zones, just don't the same damn state. I love it, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but it's totally different. It's almost like cartographers got tired. Once they got west of the Mississippi, it's like, oh, the hell with it, make it a rectangle. Just be done with this. Cool? Okay, now, here's what I want you guys to do next. Let's take a look at our data. Get this in your TIs. Get it in your TIs, let's get a graph of it, let's run one of our stats.